Welcome to the Lace 'em Up Podcast. I am your host, Davidito, and we back like we never left. Since we back, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This is going to be the first episode of the new year. All right, I'm excited to get this kicked off. Like I mentioned in the last episode, I'm going to try to do one of these a month, see how that pans out. We went super hard last year. I'm really excited for this next year and excited for the guest that we're having on today. All right, we're gonna hear everything about his experience in shoe customizing and how he's transitioning from being a truck driver to customizing shoes. Some of the different things that he's had to maneuver and learn through from working on an individual custom for one person versus corporate. Some of his experience in the past with maybe dibbling and dabbling into cards, just kind of getting into everything and what really makes him passionate about customizing shoes. Okay? So, without any further ado, Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Listen, you want custom shoes, that's gonna take some bucks. Whatever you have for the price, go ahead and raise them up. Better get your spot now for it's taken up. When it's all said and done, my guy, lace them up. Come on, lace them up.
Yeah, man, pleasure to meet you, man.
Yes, sir. So let's start here. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, some of that stuff.
Michael Martinez is my name. I'm from New Jersey, born in New York, raised in Jersey, 43 years old, father of two. I'm a big family man. Um, just got into sneaker customs. It's been a while, man. I tend to go down rabbit holes and get into different hobbies that started as a hobby a long time ago, and I do that with a lot of different things, man. I'll do my research and get into things, and this was one of them, bro. And this one stuck. So
Yeah. So I do want to talk to you about the shoes and what that journey has been and that kind of stuff. But you said getting into other things. Looks like you were into trading cards and collectibles for a while. What
yeah,
happened with that?
yeah, that was another thing. And I've always been into cards. I grew up in the '90s. Um, I feel like that was probably the last big explosion of the cards. I know there was another one recently, 2017 or something like that. Things went crazy again. And then all the people from this generation will feel the same way probably in 20 years, you know. But yeah, I was big into it back then, the whole NBA hip hop kid, in the '90s, and got into trading cards. My uncle got me into it back then, and I used to collect. I mean, even to this day, man, I collect all kinds of stuff, and I'll just stack it away in my attic, and then every few years, kind of go back to it. But I got big into the trading cards again recently, and it was I don't know how many people know about that stuff, but breaking the cards, open them up at live on, when Whatnot first came out, I was one of the first people on there. Um, and it's crazy because the whole sneaker community reminds me so much of the trading card community, like going to the Got
Mm.
Soul show, just watching the way people flip things and interact with each other. And then even the communities online, it's very similar to me, just very similar.
Mm.
Facebook
Mm.
groups, the way you could kind of reach out to whoever in the sneaker customs, like, man, I've hit up everyone I could think of, that's just how I am, as far as like collabs and stuff like that. I'll just reach out to people, and I mean, what's the worst that can happen? They blow you off, but yeah, most people are pretty cool, man. And that's how it was with the card thing. I just got heavy into cards, collect sports cards, sports memorabilia, tickets, like sports tickets. Like I got Kobe's first playoff ticket, and
Mm.
I mean, I bought that. I was, way. I mean, that was a long time ago. What, like 2003, maybe, or I'm not sure of the date. 2000, I think, actually. Him and Shaq. I'm a Shaq collector, a Kobe collector. But I mean, I bought it off eBay for pennies. Now it's worth money, but I collected because I love things, not because they were worth money.
Yeah, same. That's kind of where collecting for me started as well was um, comic books and cards. Yeah,
Okay.
cards. Supposedly football, basketball.
Right.
I have quite a few baseball too, but I was really after the football and basketball ones, and then
Right.
now it's kind of become pop toys. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
got a
No,
bunch of
I
those
get
too.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. I collect that movie memorabilia. I have a lot of, I plan one day to have a movie theater, a man cave of some kind with a movie, see what happens. But I got goals, bro. I got
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah. That's what's up. So what got you into customizing shoes?
I've always been an artist. So, I mean, my mom was always very artistic. I remember as like a kid, she used to, for like the other moms in the school and stuff, she would make like draw Mickey on the shirts with like, I don't even know what kind of paint she was using, and like a squirt bottle or something they had
Mm-hmm.
in like, one of the thrift stores back then. But she used to do stuff like that. She would like, she painted her bathroom one day with this tiger. Like I said, my mom, she was just very artistic. I think I got it from her, you know. And so I've always loved to draw, mostly a pencil and paper guy. And I had an injury in 2008 and had back surgery, and was laid up in the house and stumbled across custom sneakers on the internet.
Mm.
And back then, Mosh was the dude, and it's crazy because he's the dude now, right? Um, and there was another guy, Soul Junkie, who was
Mm-hmm.
really big. He had his own paints back then. I remember even trying his paints. That and Angelus, I think, was like the only thing I knew of. And Angelus, you couldn't even they didn't even have a website. I think it was turtlefeathers.com. It was called.
Yeah.
We used to get it from. And yeah, bro. Now, like I said, I just always been that way. I'll kind of go down rabbit holes, and I learned how to do it. There was a guy, Jacob Patterson, used to
Mm-hmm.
make, I think it was YouTube videos,
Yep.
and man, I just remember like using acetone, trying to figure out how much do I, and I'd be like, the first shoes I'm doing, I'm burning through the leather, like rubbing so hard because we're kind of, there wasn't many people out there doing it, and a lot has changed since back then, But yeah, that's how I learned. And like I said, there was a lot of like forums and stuff, and we would have sneaker competitions, and there was even communities all the way back then in 2008 of people, doing stuff, and they would like posted the, um, like a challenge or something. Everyone would make shoes and post all the pictures, and it was super cool. And then I kind of got out of it, and it was still a hobby back then, but I remember going to like Chinatown and buying like 10 pairs of fake sneakers just to practice on to learn how to do it. And I still was unable to work, and I just sat at home and practice, and you know, and then I stopped, and then just made shoes for myself every once in a while, bouncing in and out like I did with the sports cards, every couple of years until recently. And COVID, man, brought me back again, and then I never turned back after that, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think COVID did that for a lot of us. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Not gonna lie.
yeah, man.
Yeah. That's
So
funny. You're only the second person that's ever said Jacob Patterson uh, on here as like one
yeah,
of the first people. Um, so
yeah,
you and Color Me Fresh, so you're in good company there. But that was also like the first person that I ever saw doing it online and seeing what the process was and that kind of stuff. And before that,
right,
I tried, but I had the absolute wrong paints and all that. So
right,
it
right,
it
right.
was not doing it the right way. So
Yeah, I
that's
don't
what's
know
up.
whatever happened to him. I see Soul Junkie. I think now is a tattoo artist. I think he's moved on to something like that. But yeah, from back then, the only person I know still around now is, I mean, I'm sure there's others, but Mosh is, he's the dude.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's what's up. Nice. All right, so you've been doing it for a nice minute now, and you feel like you've been pretty consistent since COVID, right?
oh,
Uh, on doing it. Um, I've been looking at some of the work and what you've done. The insoles for the Freddy Krueger shoes are insane, by the way.
yeah.
Just say that was really dope. But out of what you've done so far, what would you say is your top five customs that you've created?
Oh man, that's so hard. Um, past couple of years, I've done so many, man. Top five for me, and it's weird because you know how that goes. Like your latest one, a lot of times is your most favorite, you know. But top five, I would say if we're going off like memories or something, or I don't know how I'm gonna do the top five, but okay, my first commission sneaker holds a special spot for me, right? So it was
Mm-hmm.
a Chucky Jordan One High. I did the high version,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend of mine, shout out to Zader, but he seen that I was making customs for myself because I'd start posting the customs. I just did it for myself always, you know. He'd see him and he kept asking me to do a pair for him. I kept turning him down until the dude broke me down one day, man. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And no, I even kept track of how many hours. I think it took me like something like 32 hours to do my first pair for somebody else, man. Because you know, I wanted to be meticulous
Mm-hmm.
and you know just taking that next step is a bit was a big deal for me to do it for somebody else. Uh, there was a lot of things I learned with that first sneaker for someone else, and that definitely holds a spot in the top five for me. The Chucky. Um, those Freddies are on there too. I love that design. Um, collabed with somebody I made a pair for. Uh, coming up with those insoles, and he was very specific about. I've made a few pair. I own a pair myself. I don't make myself a lot of pairs, but those I actually own myself. Um, but he's a director, and he wanted to put him in a Netflix movie and pay homage to past slasher films. So that alone to me was super cool, just to hear that that's something that's going to happen with one of my shoes. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and then with the whole insoles, it just the melted flesh and stuff. It just came out so cool, you know. And then as I've done more pairs, his were one of the latest, but then started using the chromium paint. You know, I think like the first one I did was just like gray, and I tried making it look more like a knife and stuff. And you start. I mean, even though I've been doing this for a long time, man, I'm humble, dude. I'm always one to want to learn more. I'm not afraid. Like I said, I'll hit up anybody. I'll ask questions, man. I can't wait to learn more, man. I'm looking to do recon, and I want to do it all. I'm willing to learn it all, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that one holds a special spot to me. My Kobe's, I did a pair of Kobe's where I did a portrait on them.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I've always been a huge Kobe fan. I own a pair of those myself, also. That was my first time doing like a portrait work kind of stuff like that. So that's high up there on the list, man. Um, I did a pair of Beatles shoes, but it was like a cartoon version of them. I never did cartoons on a shoe before like that, so that was a cool pair I did for me. It had like gradients going on, you know. So it's like every time I tried something different and kind of expanded, that shoes kind of holds a special spot for me, you know.
Yeah.
And then I recently did a pair of Terrifier shoes, and my boy Suave told me about these leather barbed wire laces that look like barbed wire. And I'm like, that's such a cool idea. Ordered it from some guy out of the country and, drilled the holes in the side of the shoe, made them bigger, started getting into the lights, got Christmas lights on there for the Terrifier 3 theme kind of thing going on. And, that would probably be one of the top five too, man. Like I said, I'm trying to always think outside the box. Actually designing the shoes has become so much more fun for me, man. And just the thought of like doing the designs and doing the research. And I get my kids involved on a lot of the stuff, so I'll start like watching a movie. I'm definitely a theme guy. Like I'll stick with a theme. We'll watch movies, we'll take notes. They'll help out with me. So it's a way to get them involved, my family involved too. So
Nice.
yeah, man.
So with the shoes that you've made for other people, and you said finally taking commissions was a big hurdle for you. What would you say has been the biggest lesson you've learned with working with somebody else to do a commission?
Oh, the biggest lesson I've learned is I'm very critical of myself, man. I try
Mm.
not to be, and I don't think I've learned the lesson because I'm still super critical of myself, you know. But I'm trying not to be as hard on myself all the time, you know. Um, but I've actually had a good experience in
That's good.
with doing it, you know. People seem to, and I got a lot of room to grow, so I'm not trying to be like cocky or anything, you know, but people seem to like the work I do. I'm certainly have been more critical of myself than any of my customers, you know. um, just, you know, keep my head down, keep pushing, and trying to expand, man. I'm just focused on growing and making it my full time. It it's I'm close, but it's not my full time. I'm a truck driver and I work 12, 13, sometimes 14 hours a day. Come home
Mm.
and paint and sleep, bro. So and I've been doing this for years now, just like that. And I'm surprised I haven't burnt out yet. But I'm locked in, man. I almost took a chance on getting into the sports cards, and I didn't pull the trigger. And I just feel way more comfortable with the shoes now, and I feel like this was my calling. So I'm glad I didn't jump head first into that. Um, but yeah, man, like I said, man, I'm giving this a go. I'm locked in, bro. I'm ready to make
Nice.
stuff happen, and you know, try to bring people close to me, and everyone around me that's been supportive with me. You know, other brands I've been working with, and you know, if they're good and I feel that they got something special, I feel like we could elevate everybody. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of brand stuff, you were talking about is it Kicks Coats or is that what it's called?
Yeah, man. I've been there's two brands I've been working with recently. One is Get Lace Laces, and I just if you ever ordered shoes from like Nike ID or something, they come with like
Mm-hmm.
not all the time, but they come with like special, they're better than average laces, right? So I just randomly ordered a pair from this Get Lace Laces, and that's how all his laces are. So I hit, like I said, I reach out, man. I hit this dude up, and he's telling me all his laces are like that. He's super cool, small business owner, and again, like I feel like we could all try to grow together. He has a great vision, and I said, why not try to build somebody up like that too, you know? And I fully stand by. I ain't gonna push any or support any product that I don't really believe in. That's just not my style. So that's one of the brands that I've been trying to work with, and like I said, see for yourself. He talks about how they're like triple. So I don't know what they do, but his stuff's for real. And then the Kicks coat, I ran across this dude, and I call him like Walter White because this dude's like I don't know what he's doing up in the lab, bro. But this dude is some kind of chemist, man, and it's not it's not, and he could talk about this stuff way better than I can, but it's not like an acrylic, and he explains how acrylic sits on the top of the surface. There is no like going into the leather, right? So
Yeah.
his is like a urethane resin blend, is what he says. And when I tell you, I had him send me some stuff just to test it because I had to see it for myself. So I don't even expect anyone to take my word for it, you know, because like who am I, right? But like try it for yourself because I mean this stuff is legit. It like bleeds into the leather, and I've done tests
Mm.
without the adhesion promoter, with adhesion promoter, like without even prepping the shoe. Like this stuff, just, it like bleeds into the leather. It's unlike anything I ever seen, man. It's crazy. So when I came across this stuff, I'm like, I gotta shout it out, right? And I told this dude, like, you have something special here, man. Because me personally, I'm sanding, like, especially on like a toe box or something. I'm sanding it, I'm dyeing it, I'm putting primer, adhesion promoter. Like, I'm doing everything I can. So when that person starts walking around with that shoe, that shoe don't crease. Like that's always my worst fear. You want your custom to last. You know, these aren't cheap. People are paying a lot of money for this stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure. Especially if you're putting 36 hours in
yeah, no, that was
on a pair of
crazy.
kicks.
That was crazy. But yeah, man, that's keep a lookout for that stuff, man. He didn't even launch it yet, so I think it's January 1st. You go on his website and like sign up. But yeah, man, it's and like I said, I even reached out to everybody to tell them about that stuff because I feel like that's a game changer, man. To not have to use 10 different 10 different products, you know, to make sure your customs last. To have confidence in the durability, bro, that means everything to me, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest things when you're working on shoes and hoping that they don't get ruined, even during the process, man. Like
Yeah, man.
that's one of the most nerve wracking things, especially when you have multi-layered stencil and you pulling something
Right.
off, and then you gotta do touch-ups.
Oh
Man, that
man,
is
I
annoying.
know, I
It's all
know.
get up, but
Yeah, man, it's crazy. There's none of that, no worrying. Because I'm always heating, yeah, to heat up the stencil, and I'm like pulling
mm-hmm.
slow, and you're like, back in your mind, praying that it ain't gonna peel it up, and there's none of that going on, man. Like I said, dude. So he's telling me that the automotive industry like adopted this years ago, and he didn't
Mm,
see why this has not. And I just like personally, if you're asking me, it's comfortability. I think everyone's just comfortable with the brands we're using now. One brand got 99% of the market, and everyone is at a spot with it where it's good enough, right? That we,
yeah,
we found a process that's good enough to make it work. But is it really though? Like I said, man,
yeah,
this it's gonna. I think this is gonna change things, man. It's crazy, bro.
yeah. I'm gonna have to look into that and try
Yeah,
it out.
man. I'll get you
Yeah,
some, man.
for sure, for sure. So with your process, earlier you talked a little bit more about or mentioned designing your
Right.
your your customs or your shoes, art proofs. What does that process look like for you?
Okay.
What are you using? What are some of your go-to tools?
So lately, um, I've been averaging like around a pair a week. I think the first year I started doing commissions, I did like 54. This year I stepped it. It's a little bit more, a year or whatever, like 60 something. But I started working with corporate sneakers, which is a completely different ball game. So I think in the past 4 months, I've done almost 300 pairs of corporate sneakers. Now it's not as fun. Yeah, it's wild. It's not as fun. It's a logo, some check work, color to match the company logos and stuff like that. So that process obviously is a lot different than doing a
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one custom. For a one-on-one stuff, kind of, that kind of stuff, way more fun for me, and that in everything, the process, being able to put the laces in at the end and looking at your masterpiece or whatever, just the whole thing of it to me is more satisfying. So with that, I talk to the customer, kind of see where their head's at. And then, like I said, a lot of times it's themed. So, like one I could think of off the top of my head, I did Talladega Nights, the movie with Will Ferrell,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought a mismatched shoe would be cool, So I talked to the customer, I watched the movie. Me and my kids, my whole family, we sat down, watched it. I took notes of things they were saying. There's so many taglines in that, the Fig Newton thing, and you know, I don't know how many people are familiar with that. I'm a big movie dude, so
Yeah, yeah. First your last, all that good stuff. Yeah,
Right, right. So,
yeah.
I do that. And then I use Procreate. And shout out to DJSeuss because
Mm-hmm.
how I talked about in the beginning, Jacob Patterson and Mosh and all them. When I came back recently, the process on stuff was completely different. Like I wasn't sanding stuff back then, back in the day,
Mm.
and doing stuff. And I started watching Dylan and all his videos, man, and the products he uses and he showed Procreate. I went online, learned how to use it, and that's basically what I use to make the shoes, do the mock-ups and stuff, and then I'll send it to the customer. We tweak it if it needs to be tweaked, and kind of just go from there. And then it takes weeks a lot of times to get stuff done. And that's basically the process on that.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely takes some time. I was just wondering on like you mentioned it like the if you're using Procreate, whatever. Like I use Photoshop
Right.
for mine. Um, I had a young, I won't call him a kid, but a younger gentleman on who lives in New York, goes by B Rod. He doesn't have access to those tools, so he's literally hand sketching out
Mm,
he's sketching out the template and
really,
sketching out the design on the handwritten drawn template
man.
before he makes the shoe. Like, so he's going through a deep process, and I'm like, man,
Yeah.
just let me send you some like
We gotta-
some templates or something. But he doesn't have the materials to do so with. But he's making
oh
it work right
man.
now. So
Yeah, we gotta hook my boy up, man.
yeah,
It's real
yeah,
easy
yeah, for
on him.
sure.
Yeah, it's tough, but
Yeah,
you know how it goes. Like when I first started, from what I have had then to what I have now, you keep upgrading. I got the patcher sewing machine now, which is something I never had, and it's like, and then I started using Procreate, Procreate mobile, and then you're able to get an iPad and get it on there, and a Cricut cutter, is not something I had when I first started, and
yeah,
trying to do stencils and stuff without that, and then that's a huge help, so I mean,
yeah,
you do what you got,
yeah.
there.
And you add as you go along. Yeah, for sure. That's, I mean, same thing. Me for stencils, I used to use like my phone and put the picture on and put a piece of tape over it and
Right,
then cut
right.
it out by hand. And
Yeah. Yep. No,
yeah,
I remember those days too, man.
yeah. Now I just, make the file and print it out, but which is a whole lot easier.
Right.
But still, you use what you have and make it work. So, question, because there's a lot of hours that go into this. Like you mentioned, you spent 30. Is that the longest you spent on a pair of customs? Is 36 hours, or just for one
Oh
pair?
yeah.
This episode of the Lace Up Podcast is brought to you by Davidito Designs. Davidito Designs is my website. It's where you can go and cop some merch. You can also put in a request for some custom shoes, and we can bring whatever idea that you may have in your mind to life on a pair of custom shoes. Back to the podcast.
Yeah. That first pair was the longest I ever spent on it, and my
The
technique
longest.
has gotten better since then, and I've learned way more since then. Like I said, I feel like having a community, and again, this goes back to the whole sports card thing. Like I used to have my own group with there was thousands of members in it, but like just having a community of people to talk, because my wife sure as hell don't want to hear about shoes anymore. It's like just having somebody to talk to about shoes, like because that's on the mind all the time for me. Just having people, just being able to bounce an idea off somebody in a DM and just having a short conversation could lead you. It leads me to an idea so quickly. Just kind of just saying it out loud. Sometimes it's like, okay, that's what I needed to hear, or something like that. So I always tell people, like, get a community of try to join. And there's so many. There's Facebook groups. There's just, like I said, anybody reach out to me and have any questions or talk about stuff.
Yeah. So the reason I was asking, like the time length is, what are you using or what are you listening to set the vibe or atmosphere while you're doing your work? Are you listening to
Yeah.
podcasts? Are you listening to music? If so, what kind of podcast? What kind of music are you listening to?
Yeah, man. It depends on my mood, honestly, what I got going on that day. I've been listening to Jada Kiss has been on my playlist lately, man. I've been listening to a lot of Jada lately. Big Pun. I keep it in the '90s, man. I can't. I don't. I'm old, bro. I'm 43 now, man. I don't know. I can't get into a lot of this newer stuff. But yeah, I keep it in with the '90s rap basically. Uh, but I do listen to podcasts a lot. Like I said, I'm a truck driver, so I actually don't listen to much music when I'm on the road. I do listen to podcasts a lot. I'll listen to YouTube videos and stuff. That's how I ran through your stuff on the road, driving up to Connecticut or something like that, And I'm not
Yeah.
able to visually watch it, but I'm just like listening, and you got a lot of time to think as a truck driver, So you kind of, I'm just listening and think, bro. That's what I do all day long, man. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up for sure, for sure. I always, most of the time for me, it's R&B, or if I go to hip hop, it is typically '90s, early 2000s stuff.
Right, right.
It's not any of the newer stuff. No disrespect to any artist, but
No,
just
of course not.
I can't. Yeah, that's not my vibe or my style. So,
Right.
um, yeah. So one of the things that I saw that I thought was pretty interesting. I saw several of your customs that had their own custom like lace lock on the
Right.
the uh, shoestring. Excuse me. Um, are you creating those? Are you purchasing them? Like what does that look like?
Right. So I do have a guy out in Buffalo, and the company's D Nice, and he does awesome work. I I use him for the lace locks. I use him sometimes for the insoles. I've been doing a lot of the insoles myself lately. It kind of depends on the time frame, you know. Like if it's a rush job, you know how it goes. People think that customs, could be grown overnight and you could have it the next day, which is
Yeah.
wild to me. You know, people are just like it doesn't take lots of time to make something. So yeah, it depends on like what kind of time crunch I'm under. But if I have some time, I will, because he does amazing work. I will take the insoles out of the OG shoe, and I will send him, and he prints right on it. It takes it takes some time, you know, for me to do things. It gives me more time to paint, you know. But sometimes I do it myself, the insoles. But he makes the lace locks, and again, that's all part of the designing process when I do it. You know, lace locks, the tongue tags I sew on myself now. You know, with the leather, got myself rolls of the leather, and but yeah, he does that too. He makes the tongue tags, lace locks with the insoles. He does custom tissue paper. And again, this is all like I talked about, expanding and elevating slowly. Like this isn't stuff I had in the beginning, but this is stuff that I started, gathering over time. You know, like Dylan said with his custom boxes and stuff. So that's something I'm looking into now. Trying to, because now I feel like I'm starting to lean toward trying to brand myself.
Yeah.
Like having a Kingmidas kind of box sounds cool. So
Yeah. That was the place I got the idea to do my own custom box too. It was
right,
between that and actually strangely there was I don't even know if they exist anymore, but it was a like a mom and pop like cookie shop, and you can order like 8 of them at a time, and they had these elongated custom boxes. And I had did it for my job for something else at the time, and I was
right,
like, and I saw Dylan using them too, and I was like, why don't I just make my own?
right,
So
right.
then I just made my own, and bought a bunch of them, just one standard size. He has multiple sizes. I was like, I can't make that investment right now, but
Right.
I bought one standard size to put mine in to ship them out. I was like, yeah, I like that. That's a nice little
Yeah,
touch. So
no, it is a nice touch. I've been doing custom boxes, not with my brand on them, but focused towards whatever the theme of the shoe is.
yeah,
And it's expensive because they're magnetic boxes. You buy them from Amazon, and then I have to design the whole, the box itself. I put stickers, custom labels on it. Again, it just adds to the experience for the customer. Just that whole designing process is fun for me, you know.
yeah, that was one of the questions I was gonna ask was, were you designing the boxes? But yeah, that man, that is a lot of work for
Yeah,
one pair of customs, man.
it is.
That
It
is
is
a
a lot
lot
of
of
work.
work.
No, it is. But like I said, man, it's fun, man. I enjoy the whole. It made me think about like as a future, like designing. Like I never thought about designing stuff, and it's like, man, that like could I see myself designing shoe? You know, you look at some of these bigger like I say, Mosh or Belaires or something that design shoes to have made, and get them made and stuff. And I'm like, man,
Yeah,
that would be cool. That would be something
yeah,
cool too. Not that that's part of one of my goals right now. And I have lots of goals at the moment, but like, you know, maybe, maybe,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah,
open to anything at this point, man.
yeah. Hey, it's nothing wrong with having goals, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
nothing wrong with having goals. The dope part about it is you have them and you're going after them. There's so
Right.
many people that just have a goal but they never put any work into it. And I always tell people the dream doesn't work unless you do. So that
Yeah.
that is deep right there. That's dope.
It's tough though, man. It's tough to make, like, like I said, man, I'm in a weird spot with work. I'm working a lot of, like, I feel like if I was focused 100% on the sneakers, and but I got a family. I got two kids. I got a
Hmm.
mortgage, it's I'm not gonna lie, it's scary,
Yeah.
I'm not too like I said, man, I'm ready to do it. But I'm nervous to do so, to kind of put all the chips in. But
In one basket. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I hear you. I definitely hear you. Feel you on that. So I was gonna ask the the logo. Tell me about the logo. Why the handprint with the is that melting or dripping paint on it with the
Right,
king
right.
with the crown and all that?
Oh man. So when I was a card breaker, I was opening up cards, and oh man, I forget what kind of cards they were, but there was two golds in every box, and I was ripping cases of this stuff, and I kept ripping golds, and people started calling me King Midas, and um,
Mm,
and my brother always called me a gorilla. So like, I and then I'm walking through. I think it was Marshalls, dude, and I don't know where this thing's up in my attic somewhere, but I literally found a gorilla head with a king crown on it, and I'm like, I gotta buy this, and it's huge. It's like this big, bro. So I brought it home. I'm like,
yeah.
this is my new. It just became my thing, man. King Midas with the gorilla head with the crown, and then when I started doing the paint, I seen the golden dripping hand, and I'm like, it felt like it's time. That would be the logo to run with, man. So it kind of all worked out. I feel
All right.
like there was a sign
Okay.
there, man. Yeah,
Yeah. So you're saying you got the golden Midas touch on the
yeah,
customs
yeah,
is what you're saying.
yeah,
That's what's up.
yeah.
That's what's up. So one of the things that I always say, and I truly believe, really is creating this problem solving, right? Especially when you're doing this, there's obstacles and stuff that come up. What would you say has been the biggest obstacle or the obstacle that you learned the most from while creating a custom? What was that? What was that experience? Kind of laid out for us.
Um, the biggest obstacle, I don't know. The biggest obstacle I'm dealing with recently is probably sourcing the shoes in bulk has been, and that's a whole nother side of the business
Mm,
that I've never had to deal with, is sourcing sneakers in bulk, so finding people that I could trust. And nobody now, with that, it's a little bit different because those people aren't willing to give up any info. They aren't like,
mm-hmm.
with customs where they'll kind of tell you, tips and tricks and stuff, and about doing stuff with the sneakers. They're not as easy to give up information. So trying to source myself with the bulk stuff has been difficult for me. And I've been going to sneaker shows, and I've made a lot of headway on it. But that's been one of my biggest challenges recently. But if you're talking about specifically the other thing, my biggest challenge, um, I guess it would be like just using what I've learned from other people and figuring it out on my own, like figuring out, like painting sock liners. How much do you heat it up? How hot does it have to be to soak in, kind of
Mm,
thing. And no one's ever super specific on how much heat we're putting on this thing. And I've like singed my sock liners when I first started doing them and stuff like that. Just a
yeah,
process
that's crazy.
of learning stuff.
Yeah. So, so with that, if there's a person who's saying that they're going to get into this, what is the number one tip, or what would be the first tip that you would give them if they're interested in shoe customizing?
Patience, man. You gotta have patience. It's like I remember, like I'm always, well, not always now, but I used to be. You just want to kind of sometimes put those laces in before you're actually done, and you know, you just got to be patient. And I'll use like you got to edging I feel like is an important thing that a lot of people skip, and yeah, it's a pain and it's
Mm-hmm.
time consuming, and but it makes such a difference, the edging around the Nike check or something like that. I tend to stick towards the Nikes. That's why I keep kind of referring to those. It's um but edging. And then also I learned like a tip I would have would be like say around my third coat is using like a little bit of too soft with the paint and making sure the stuff soaks into the stitching, because the stitching seems to you know not absorb as easily as the paint sometimes when you're airbrushing or something like that. So to really get in there with like a brush with some too soft and make sure that stitching soaks up the paint, I feel like is another thing I've learned that I do a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one yet. So that's definitely a new one. I like that too. That's definitely a nugget for somebody to take with and run with. Um, so let's see. Thinking outside of the box a little bit here.
Let's do it.
Um, if you had, we talked a little bit about designing, right?
Right.
Create your, yeah, let's say out of the box. Create an out of the box custom using potentially pieces and parts from other shoes, almost like a mesh up. What would that be for you?
Ooh, to create my own shoe.
Yeah,
I've
but using pieces and parts of other shoes. So say, okay, I'm gonna take this from this shoe, maybe this tongue from here, this upper from here, this mid from here, and then
right, man. And it's funny because I've thought that's been in my thoughts lately is creating my own shoe because I've been dealing with a company overseas that does something like that. You know,
mm-hmm.
so the option is there to make my own shoe. So I looked into how much like something like that would cost as a prototype and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know if I had to pick. Jordan 11s are my favorite shoe. I even got a tattoo with my son, his name on it, like little baby Jordan 11s. In the 90s you know, when I was they were expensive back then, and I never owned a pair of those back then. But when those came out, man, they made such an impression on me as a kid. Those shoes, Jordan and the patented leather, and I love that shoe. So if you're telling me to pick parts from shoes, I guess I would have to throw the patented leather in there, man. And I love when soles on the bottom of the sole has something other than just regular print, like something like Travis Scott has like Jack across the bottom or something like that. I always thought that was a
Mm-hmm.
cool look, something like that across there. Um, I'm a huge fan of the Nike swoosh, man. Like I said, my favorite shoe to work on is a Jordan One. I mean, hot specific. There's a specific shoe that I love working on the most, and it's a Jordan One High OG Stealth. And I feel like they're it's such a slept on. So anyone customizing a shoe, if you're doing a Jordan One and the fuck, sorry, I didn't mean to curse, and the gray works with it because it got a great bottom. The inside of the shoe is almost like a microfiber. It's so soft, bro. And the toe box is like it's the leather is different than other. It's just a great shoe to work on, and it's cheap. It's under retail, and I just so there's this dude I know, Marcel. Shout out to Marcel. This dude got hundreds of sneakers. So I asked him, I'm like, what other sneakers out there are like this? Like, what sneakers are people sleeping on just because they're not the hype shoe? Like, because Nike will put out stuff that has like I said, it's such a nice shoe. The inside microfiber kind of feel to it and stuff. Um, And dude told me, he's telling me different shoes with different kind of like plush leather kind of feel on it and stuff. And there's a ton of them out there that are undervalued. That's my favorite shoe to work on. So I would take that stock liner and throw that into my shoe if I was building a shoe, because I love that. Um, and some I don't know, something from the Jordan 4. I always thought that was a cool look with like you know, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
That could make something cool with it though.
yeah, yeah. That would be definitely interesting to see for sure, for sure.
Yeah, man. I
Yeah,
mean, it looks all right in my head. I don't know how it look in front of me, but I'd tweak it. I'd make it look good, man.
yeah, yeah. You got to. That's how it all starts, right? Have an idea and running with the idea. Speaking of running with ideas, do you ever find yourself in the space where you feel like you have too many ideas and you won't be able to get them out? What does that look like for you? And then also you mentioned jumping into doing more corporate pairs, right?
Right.
Um, how do you balance that part and the part of you just being creative and creating for the sake of creating?
Yeah, it's difficult, man. It is difficult. It gets overwhelming at times. But like I said, I have a lot of time to think. I only sleep for, probably 5 hours a day is my average. So I'm up a lot thinking. So as far as being able to work out ideas in my head, I'm on the road a lot driving. So I'm able to kind of, to get it on paper is more difficult. To actually use the Procreate stuff, but in my head, I'm stack the ideas. I do a pretty good job of being able to do that. I think. Um, I don't know, but at times it does get difficult for sure, man.
Yeah, man, for sure, for sure. Yep, I end up with um, a bunch of ideas, and sometimes I don't get to do them, or I'll get all of the pieces together of what I want to do, and then just be too busy and have other things going on. And I'm like, I still want to get back to that, to the that pair that I want to work on, but
Right.
it,
So a
it
lot of
happens
times,
as part of the process.
another part of the process I do is I'll go to like Pinterest or I'll do a Google search and I'll just start like snapping pictures of different things and I'll throw it into a file of photos and I'll just start gathering photos of stuff so I can keep track of stuff that's on my mind. Because like you said, if you got a lot of ideas, you start forgetting about stuff, or I'll do voice notes and tell my Siri to remember this or something like that. Throw it into notes so I don't forget it, and then I'll go back to it. And I just try to keep it. I mean, the amount of different folders I have on my phone is insane. So I guess that's how I keep track of everything and don't lose it. I'll randomly make mock-ups of stuff and just put it in a folder for concepts. I'll take ideas from other things I've seen, or I'll snap pictures. I'm at the rail yard a lot with my job, so I'll see train cars with graffiti on them and stuff, and I'm just constantly snapping pictures. And man, I'll take inspiration from anywhere, man. I just try to keep
Yeah,
all my ideas. So yeah, I guess that's what I do. I keep everything in folders to kind of keep my ideas from not losing stuff, from not getting lost.
yeah, yeah. I mean I do some of that too, and sometimes I still lose it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I do a lot of that too. Taking notes and so many different things and getting the pieces that I want and start building its own like little stack of
right.
okay, I know I want to use these laces and I want to use this, and oh, here's the piece that the back tab I ordered for these, and like trying to keep it all in one spot until I can
Right.
get to it. But yeah, it's just part of the journey, and
Yeah,
it's
man.
interesting of like how many people deal with the same things when they're doing the custom shoes. So
Yeah, that's why I said it's always. I don't know if it's because I'm older now that I don't feel strange reaching out to somebody or asking somebody a question. And I've had people turn me. It's not many though, but not many people have like not answered me. Most people are pretty open to the process and what they're doing, willing to help. Like there's this dude I know that he uses a lot of dye for the shoes, the dye lab. shout out. But like I've never done anything. I've never painted like I've used dye to put on a toe box to prevent like if it ever creased, so at least there's like a layer under, stuff like that. But I've never painted a shoe in dye before, and he does like these blends and stuff. And I wanted to know more about it. I've never done anything like that, and I've reached out, and he's open to it. Like I said, I want to know it all, man. I'm not too proud to ask somebody anything. I'll reach out to anybody and ask questions because I want to know how to do it all, man. I'm like I said, bro. I'm locked in, man. I'm trying to grow, and I've been like that with everything. I always kind of try to look at every angle. What's possible? What else can you get into? Like. I feel like that's just the way my brain works. I'm always kind of looking at what other steps there are,
Yeah. 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 All right. Before I get you out of here, how can people follow you? Where can they follow you at? If they do want to, place an order, where do they do all those things?
Yeah, bro, I'm everywhere. We're at Kingmidas Customs on Instagram. I got my own website, kingmidascustoms.com. I'm on Facebook, Kingmidas Customs or Michael Martinez. TikTok. I think I got what is it? X? It's called now. Twitter.
Yeah,
I'm on there too. I don't really go on.
I still call it Twitter, but yeah.
Yeah, man, it's hard to call it X. I don't know. But yeah, you can find me anywhere, man. And like I said, anybody need anything or anyone got questions? I know there's a lot of people out there with questions that are shy and stuff. Like I said, man, anybody could reach out. Any questions? Anybody at all? Don't be scared to reach out to people. It's probably one tip I would just give to everyone, man. Just
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for being on, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, bro, it's a pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting you too, man. I love the show. More people need to know about this show, man. I love what you do. I love what you do for the community, man. I think it's a cool thing, and we gotta shout it from the rooftops, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. It was a pleasure, man. Thank
Once again, Mike, it was a pleasure having you on. I greatly appreciate you being on the podcast. Thank you for being the first episode of the new year. All right. If you haven't followed this man yet or subscribed to his channel, please do so. He does phenomenal work. All right. So, with that being said, like I always say, fear is fake. Creating is problem solving.
Whoa. Listen, it takes wisdom to grab these sneakers and spin them. Cut a couple of linen and match them up with the denim core. Davidito, he'll cook it up like a kilo and have your Air Ones appropriate with the stilo. He's no Lilo, but he's mean with the stitch.